evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Inside the Pigskin. My name is Scott Morgan, off the Motor City Manmouth. Well, we have a whale of a crew tonight. I can't believe it. Stephen and Jeremy are on the same show. My goodness, the anchors of different stuff. Been dying to get these two on together. Just so happens tonight we get to make it work. With that said, we got Jeremy, we got Candy, we got Marvin, Superstar Powell back in the house. He's going to be on tonight and tomorrow, along with Tom Shanahan. Their teammates for two shows in a row, tonight and tomorrow on the Sports Exchange, where I'm a gunslinger, Brett Favre, and all that business, all rolled into one. And if you don't know that, ask Marvin, because when he's got his indoctrination he had to deal with, the movement, and he handled that real well. And Steven, glad to have him back in the house. And guess what? Mel Farr entered as well. As they say, Mel Farr's in the house. There's Mr. Farr. We have lucky seven. Let's get this bad boy started. How are you, Mel? Glad you made it just in a nick of time. You there, Mel?
Yeah, I'm doing good. How about you guys?
Well, doing all right.
You can't hear me?
No, I can hear you. And actually, you don't sound so bad this time. You're making progress with the microphone. Let's keep that bad boy up. Have a lot to get to tonight. The agenda is full. And why is it full? Because Louisville body slams the Miami Hurricanes. We're going to start that off with our lead topic. But let me set the stage for why we're going to do it. The worst loss in school history came in 2022 versus Middle Tennessee State that Candy and I attended. Middle Tennessee State University dominated the Canes, outgaining them by 140 yards and winning by double digits. Middle Tennessee 45-31, but led multiple times by 21 points or more. Tyler Van Dyke, once upon a time, went to Wisconsin, was 16 for 32, 2 interceptions, got benched. Miami trailed 24-3 at one point in the game. Middle Tennessee outgained Miami 507 yards to 367. Miami actually relived this Friday night against Louisville, 24-21. Carson Beck goes for 271 yards, 4 touchdowns. Ouch. Now, before I bring the crew on here, we're going to set it up this way. I had an opportunity to talk to Louisville Cardinals coach Jeff Brom, and here's what he said about the night that was Carson Beck, a really tough night for him. Go ahead, Candy.
Share screen.
I'm really proud of him. Jeff, let's talk about Carson Beck as a quarterback. You played the position, you've been a quarterback's coach, and I know you think highly of him. What are your thoughts about his skill set? And obviously, this is a tough evening for him tonight, but let's talk about Carson Beck, the quarterback per se, and what he brings to the table.
Well, Carson Beck's an NFL quarterback, and tonight wasn't his best night, but I'm just telling you, all those things matter, and it makes playing quarterback hard no matter who you are.
Right.
But until this game, he's been efficient. He's ran that offense. They've been in control of every game up until this one. And you know what? I tell our team, any given Saturday, anybody can win. I don't care who you're playing. Anybody can win if they come ready to play. And I think we were just able to get them on their heels. They weren't able to run the ball as effectively, and we had the lead. So now they had to open it up. We disguised some things. We blitzed. We were able to hit him and get in the backfield, and that caused him to make some errant throws. And I just think, it's a learning experience, but he's definitely an NFL quarterback.
Why is everyone using?
Well, there you have it. Coach Brom talked about Carson Beck. Glad to have Troy Gary in the chat room, not a NFL starting quarterback. Brom was being nice. He sure was. And Troy, he was really a great interview for me when I had a chance to talk to him. Glad to see Troy Gary in the chat room. Jeremy, we'll start you off with what you think of Carson Beck. Obviously, it's a tough loss for the Miami Hurricanes. Ben Troop actually predicted last week on the program that the Miami Hurricanes could have a let-up game, and indeed, I don't know if this was a let-up game, but they played a good football team in Louisville, but they did get tripped up here, and they did to the Cardinals. Go ahead, take it from there, Jeremy.
Well, the 4 interceptions is what hurt them the most. That and the fact that they only had, 63 rushing yards?
All right.
You combine that and also 6 less first downs, but the rushing yards is the reason why. If you can't run the ball, you can't get yourself in a good down and distance, thus making you one-dimensional. But they did average 5.7 yards per play. They had 59 plays to 68 for Louisville. So, all in all, it sounds like they had an okay game, but mistakes cost them the game. Namely, 4 interceptions, not being able to run the ball and getting Chopper down in distance so they didn't have to use the pass on third down because all they did was spin their ears back and made life a living you-know-what for Carson Beck.
I sure did. Marvin?
Carson Beck, the $6 million man. Listen. When Carson Beck was at Georgia, I liked him. I thought he was a good quarterback. I liked him coming to the Canes. I love the other. Again, I'm a pro NIL guy. I'm all for it. I love the opportunities it creates. So I was happy to see him go to the Canes. And watching this game, man, I tell you what, I was watching the $6 million man throw pick after pick after pick after pick, literally. And I was watching my guy from USC, Miller Time, lead that Louisville team up and down that field. He played okay, didn't play great, but he made some plays out there for sure. Love the comments from the coach. Love the respect to the player. Just showing complete class and humility, even though they won the game. And I think that's what it's all about at this level. Even though these guys are getting paid now, they're still young men developing, growing. And I think Ben called it right. This was a trap game. Those Friday night games, those Friday night college games can be tricky, boy. They can be tricky. I remember number 1 ranked USC going into Oregon State on a Friday night, losing. And if you look back at Florida State, Virginia, and that history, I mean, those Friday night games are tough. But Carson Beck had a tough game. I personally don't know if he's really a pro like that. I like him. I do like him, but I worry about his size. But listen, this was a big loss for the Canes, big letdown for sure. And you want to see them bounce back, and you want to see him come back with a better performance than he did, because again, for what they've invested in this guy, they expect top results, and I'm with them on that.
Tommy?
Well, I wasn't surprised to see they lost. Not that I expected Louisville to be the team that beat them, but we had discussed last week on the show how that the Hurricanes weren't an undefeated type team. And we all thought they were going to have a hiccup somewhere. What was interesting, I was watching one of the football analyst shows. I think it might have been on ESPN. And they were talking about how Louisville came up with a pretty unique coverage package with their defensive backs. And that Beck was having trouble finding his receivers. And then I saw the one quote where he was criticized. He blamed his receiver for running the wrong route. You're not supposed – quarterbacks don't do that. So not surprising in a lot of ways. The other thing that came out of that game, in my opinion, Jeff Braun is a Louisville alum. So he's coaching at his alma mater. That's something that keeps him happy. And, maybe nowadays that's the ideal job, because if you coach at Miami or Penn State or these schools where they expect a national title, you might get fired because you lose one game. I don't think anyone at Louisville expects Jeff Braun to win a national title, but he's got a winning team. They're ranked number 19. Interestingly, their only loss is to Virginia, and it's his alma mater. So who wouldn't enjoy coaching their alma mater?
Well, Tommy, amazing how you brought that up, because the fourth question I managed to get in, I asked him about his alma mater. And you can listen to the entirety of that video on the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. So I did ask him that. The Louisville PR people were really gracious about that. And he's the one that allowed me to ask that fourth question. He said, you can ask the last question if you want. And Jack, you talk about a classy individual. This guy's it. Steven?
Listen, interceptions, all that, like we talk about it all the time. You can't win games if you don't win the turnover battle. It doesn't matter if you're Miami. It doesn't matter if you're a National Football League team. You win the turnover battle. 9 times out of 10, you win the game. Obviously, the late interception is what kind of stuck the fork in the Miami Hurricanes. But I talk about this all the time, man. You win the turnover battle. You give your team the best opportunity to win the game. You got to protect the ball. It's something like you look at some of the quarterbacks in the NFL, the guys who are the most successful, the ones that make the smart decisions and don't turn the ball over, regardless if we're talking, strip sack fumbles, forcing passes into tight windows, getting the balls picked off and, return back the other way. You can't do that. So, I'm not sitting there saying I don't know. I'm not going to sit there and say Carson Beck isn't going to be an NFL quarterback. Obviously, last weekend didn't help his case any, but it's you always have. It doesn't matter if you're the elite guy or if you're the the 32nd best quarterback in the NFL. They all have bad games. They all have it's about how you bounce back from those games is what really determines if you have the mettle to be a quarterback in the National Football League. As you guys were sitting there saying, I didn't think the Miami Hurricanes team were going to be one of those teams that were going to run the table anyways. You knew they were going to stumble at some point in time. So, not surprising to do it. Obviously the Hurricane fans are probably kicking themselves because that's probably a game they should have won. But it's, as they say, every given Sunday, any given Saturday, whatever the case may be, you gotta beat the team in front of you. Props to Louisville. I think that's only like their 5th win against the Miami Hurricanes, all time. So it's something to pat themselves on the back a little bit. You're able to knock off the perennial number one team in the country at that point in time. According to a lot of people. So, this weekend was full with a lot of great games. It doesn't matter if we're talking college football or pro football. So, sucks for the Hurricanes. They'll bounce back. They'll probably still be in the national championship contention. Over the next month or two, we'll see what happens. But props to Louisville. Let's see what next week holds for Carson Beck if he can sit there and say, yeah, I dropped an egg on that one, but I'm still going to be one of these guys that is going to be a sought after commodity in the NFL.
No.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much, you guys have pretty much covered it. If you don't win the turnover battle, you give the other team extra possessions, especially a good football team. It's going to be very difficult to win. I think a lot of times you can learn a lot more in losses than you can sometimes in wins. And when the loss comes at the right time, I think, there's never a good time to lose. But if you're going to lose in college football, you want to lose a little bit early. And I think the losses come for them at the right time. And they have an opportunity to learn a lot. I think there could be things that they've kind of overlooked because they've been winning. Guys may not have been practicing the way that they need to practice because they've been winning. And you can learn a lot from a loss, learn a lot more from a loss than you can from a win. So even though it's a difficult pill to swallow, the one thing that we know is that you're not out of it in the college football playoff scenario because of the number of teams that are going to be in the playoffs. And because of the conference that they play in, and they have an opportunity to go out there and play for a conference championship as well. So everything is in front of them. But yeah, they got to clean it up, obviously. Whether or not Carson Beck is a pro prospect or not, I don't watch him enough to be able to give you an opinion on that. I was never really high on him when he was at Georgia, but I didn't really watch him a whole lot at Georgia either, to be honest with you. So, it's all up to him as to whether or not he's a pro prospect or not. Obviously, a lot of people had him being the number one quarterback coming out this year between him and Arch Manning and Cade Klubnik, the guy from Clemson. So it's all up to them. I mean, they all have an opportunity, and they'll all have an opportunity to go out there and prove whether or not they are worthy of playing in the NFL.
Katie?
So I guess I have a little different perspective, seeing that I saw Cam Ward last year in this, and now I'm seeing Carson, and I was there. I mean, I was on the field watching him play. And one of the things that I can say, Tom, I know you talked about Carson talking about calling that they didn't run the right, that they miscommunicated at the end, and somebody was running the wrong route. I can tell you that on the press conferences, that the player that was that ran the wrong route actually admitted that there was miscommunication and he ran a different route. So it wasn't just Carson calling him out. There was actually the player in the press conference said the same thing, that he the wrong route was ran. Now, do I think Carson Beck can succeed in the NFL? I think yes, on the right team. The problem with the Hurricanes on Friday night was that they became a one-dimensional team. They couldn't run the ball. And when the offensive line is not opening up holes like they had in previous, you become one-dimensional. You always know what you're going for. And remember, Louisville started out the game and they scored 14. They were up 14-0 within a matter of just minutes. Once you do that, like the coach said, you really become one-dimensional because you want to make up those points. You want to get back in the game. And if you're not running and you're not having the success, you're always throwing. Defense always knows that. The defense then can defend easier because they know what you're going to do. So that makes it really hard. It'll be interesting to see how Carson Beck bounces back and the team bounces back. Now they have Stanford, not an easy walkover team this weekend either. So we'll see how the whole team responds. And like you guys said, you do sometimes learn more from your losses than you do from your wins.
Yeah, well, Mark Fletcher Jr. is an anchor of that running attack. And since Candy brought up Stanford, I'll stay on the Canes for just a moment because obviously we know back in November, Stanford hired Andrew Luck as their general manager. But Stanford will get this, fly 23,562 miles for its 6 away games in 2025. And Andrew Luck wanted to play until he was 45, retired early at 29 years old in 2019 because of injuries and mental fatigue. And keep in mind, Frank Reich engineered a big upset over the weekend over Florida State out in Stanford. So that was an impressive win. So with that said, Mel, what are your thoughts about the frequent flyer miles that you have with Stanford and Frank Reich and what you have coming in at Hard Rock this weekend and Andrew Luck? Mel?
You asked the question. I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question. What was the question?
Let me go over it again. Okay, Stanford hired Andrew Luck as their general manager. There's going to fly 23,562 miles for 6 away games in 25. And Andrew Luck went on record saying he wanted to play until he was 45, but he retired at 29 years of age in 2019 because of injuries and mental fatigue. It's been tough for Andrew Luck, and the Stanford Cardinals are definitely going to go out there and travel a lot of miles. Keep in mind, Frank Reich engineered an impressive win over Florida State out in Palo Alto this weekend. So let's talk about Stanford, Andrew Luck, and Frank Reich.
Yeah, Stanford, they played that well this weekend. Again, I didn't see that game. I did see the score of that game. I think I saw the last little bit of the game because I think they played real late. I'm not sure. But, yeah, that was an impressive win for the program. I'm glad to see it. Old Pac-12 school taking it to an ACC school. Always happy to see that. Yeah, Andrew Luck was one of those guys who they thought was the next big thing. Unfortunately, because of injuries, really didn't have the supporting cast around him, the people that he needed around him to protect him, and he didn't necessarily protect himself. Unfortunately, his career was cut a little bit short. I know they brought Frank Reich in there because they got rid of the coach late because of some issues with the way that he was treating people, I guess, in the athletic department, and brought him in, and he's just kind of a Band-Aid. He's not there forever. He's just going to coach this year, and they'll start the hiring process at the end of the season. But he's doing a great job. I mean, he was a good coach in the NFL, I believe. So he knows what he's doing. The guys are getting coached properly. Probably doing a better job than what Coach Belichick's doing at North Carolina. And I don't think you get near the talent. I don't think he has near the talent at Stanford that Coach Belichick has at North Carolina. But they're doing a good job. I mean, they beat a team
obviously, he's reeling over there at Florida State. He's on the hot seat. That doesn't help his cause much.
Right.
But I guess they're going to make a decision on him at the end of the year. So we'll just have to kind of see how that plays out. But yeah, I'm happy for Stanford. Happy for Andrew. Frank Reich is doing what they brought him in there to do, just kind of keep everything together, keep the program treading water until they can get a permanent guy in there.
Yeah, the losses are mounting for Bill Belichick. We'll get into that in a later episode. Marvin?
Listen, I got a lot of love for Frank Reich. Listen, I know Frank from his Maryland days, big comeback win, Buffalo Bills days, and just an old football nerd like myself. I love to see, the old players in positions to coach and lead. And, it's a situation where, like Mel said, I love the Pac-8. I love the Pac-10. I love the Pac-12. I love to see West Coast football doing well. Florida State is an outstanding program who's just in the middle of a big stink right now. They're probably looking at a head coach opening here in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, Frank Reich, big win this weekend over Florida State. Listen, Stanford wanted to join the big conference. Stanford wanted to join the big boys and stay relevant. They want to take the big TV money. So traveling's a part of it. There's no need to complain, no need to fuss. Everybody's getting paid. Everybody's getting paid. Stanford is not in the Ivy League, so their guys are getting NIL money, and those are big budgets over there at Palo Alto. In spite of what you may think about them not being an elite or a traditional football school, Stanford's a great program. Always has been. Has always got elite players with high academics. And in regards to Andrew Luck, listen, great move by Stanford. I loved him being picked up as the AD. Represents the school well, himself well. Has always appeared to be a stand-up guy, say the right things, sees the bigger picture, sees the bigger perspective. So definitely happy for Andrew, especially as a former player as well. Happy for him and his family. And what was the third part I missed? Frank Reich, Stanford goes. Did I get it all? What did I miss?
Tommy?
Okay.
You got it.
Right.
Yeah, Andrew Luck fell into a great situation. He's at his alma mater, similar to what I was saying a little bit earlier about when he retired from playing, he didn't seem to show any interest in coaching. But in the meantime, college football has changed so much. Now you have general managers of a football program, and he dovetailed into that role perfectly. He's got a job at his alma mater, involved with the football program, and he's involved in it in several levels. I happened to, just a couple of weeks ago, for the Raleigh News and Observer, I always write weekly stories about top recruits in the area, and there's a kid from Raleigh's Southeast Raleigh High School who's going to Stanford. He's committed to Stanford, and Stanford doesn't usually recruit out this way. Well, I shouldn't say that, but it's unusual. They do. Stanford recruits everywhere. But I asked the kid, Keeson, I said, they've got an interim coach, Frank Reich. What made you confident to commit there? And he said, because Andrew Luck's there. Andrew Luck's at his alma mater. He's committed to there. And Andrew Luck has been very involved in his recruitment. So that's why he feels confident in going to Stanford. And already Luck has shown good judgment on the hiring front by putting Frank Reich in that, not only putting in position, but they agreed he was only there as an interim coach. So they were able to weather this firing there, Troy Taylor. I think it was in March, maybe April. That's late to be firing a new coach and finding a new one. And Andrew Luck, he found the right bridges in several different ways. So Luck is in a great spot. Stanford, he's at his alma mater, similar to Jeff Brom. I don't think Stanford expects their team to win a national title every year, just be competitive and maybe hit it big of some years. Like they were 11-1 with Jim Harbaugh, and I think they were 11-2 once or twice with David Shaw. So they're gonna be up and down, just the nature of the institution. and the high academics there. But Andrew Luck, they've got a great captain to steer that ship.
Steven.
Listen, I'm with Marvin here. You know, got made love for Frank Reich. Obviously, you know, he spent some time here in Philadelphia for the first Super Bowl run. You know, wound up going down there to Indianapolis. That didn't work out there. Then they wound up stealing another one. Our coaches taking Steichen down there. But you know, he's in a he's in a no lose situation. He's playing with house money. You know, he could very well wind up doing well enough to find himself keeping a job, maybe not just be a stopgap guy for the rest of the year. Andrew Luck, obviously, you always want to be able to go and give back to your alma mater, be able to be in those familiar surroundings. So, he has himself in a pretty good situation, and, coming off a win where you knock off Florida State, it's a good week for the program. Obviously, we're only nearing towards the end of October there, so we still got a good month and a half before we seen how all these snakes line out. But Stanford, take the wins where you get them, and see where everything goes.
Jeremy.
Well, Andrew Luck, he was brought into this last year to be the general manager of Stanford. And his job is two parts. There's football operations, which includes evaluation, recruiting strategy, and roster management. And then there's the whole business operation, where he's actually into the fundraising, the alumni relations, sponsorship, and improving the evolving landscape that is the NIL, name, image, and likeness. And he's managed to do this quite well. The fact that they're building a team that's being competitive and way more competitive than Florida State, that's a good thing. And that's a testament to the guy they brought in to fill in. Frank Reich was a good coach. He was a great coordinator. So I think he fits more of the college head coach than he did the NFL head coach myself, because he didn't do well in his stint with the Colts.
Candy.
So,
go ahead, Jeremy.
I just think he's going to be very good here with Stanford, and I don't know if it's just going to be a Band-Aid because he's familiar with Andrew Luck.
Great point. Okay, Candy.
So Stanford and Miami have never played each other in football. But that does not mean Stanford has not had history inside Hard Rock Stadium. The Cardinals won the 2011 Orange Bowl over Virginia Tech 40-12, behind 4 passing touchdowns from none other than Andrew Luck, 3 of which who went to Kobe Fleener. It was Stanford's first bowl victory since 1996 and capped off a 12-win season, a school record. Now Miami is favorite in this game, but again, they've got to watch out because there's now film on how you can beat Miami, and so they've got to figure out how to change that narrative to that they get back to running the ball and having both sides being successful on both sides of the ball. I do think Carson Beck will be better, and he knows better that he can't just throw up some of those balls that he threw up thinking that his guys were going to come down with the ball. So I see him having a better game. Now, will he have the game that he's had way back in the, in the beginning of the year? Let's hope. But it'll be very interesting to see how this game plays out.
Well, the only thing I'll say, the last word on this is as I am all year, I look forward to going to the visiting press conference. I get a lot of questions in, and I'm looking forward to talking to Frank Reich. And when I do come next Tuesday night, there'll be some sound on Mr. Reich, and I have an idea what I want to say, but I'll let things play out when we get there. Lots more to get to. We're going to talk about the NFL rule changes that took place this year. I'm going to go list them all, and then everybody in the crew can give me their brief observations, what they think of them. A lot more topics to get to. I want to make sure we got those 2 games up there as Candy and I get set to roll this weekend as well. The NFL rule changes, we're going to talk about the kickoff change again. The touchbacks will now go to the 35-yard line instead of the 30 like last season. OT goes to a playoff format. Both teams have a possession, even if one team, even if one team, let's see, I'll try it again. 35-yard line to the 30-yard line. That seems OT goes to a playoff format. Both teams have a possession, even if the team getting the ball scores a touchdown. If after one possession each team the score remains tied, then the game shifts to sudden death format. Technology for first down measurements. Obviously, we're going to talk about the automated ones, and the more replay assists will be expanded with replay advising the on-field officials for a variety of calls when a clear and obvious video is evident and present. Okay, you know what? We'll start off with you, Jeremy. We don't need a book on it, but give me your thoughts about some of the rule changes. Good to have you on, Ken Bulrick. James Burgess, good to see you as well.
The rule changes, you know what? The kickoff rules, I kind of like them. I still wish they just let them go back to the wedge because we did sort of see more touchdowns back then. But what you did see was more concussion. So I understand it. But we are seeing more returns than we saw through the previous rendition of this last year. The return rate is up 3 yards per carry right now, which that's a drastic improvement, which means everybody's blocking just a little bit better than they did last year. And so the overtime rules, I'm fine with it. Because you know what? The ties have been a part of football the entire NFL history. So if there's a tie and you end up with the same win total as another team, guess what? That's as good as a win. It's a half a win. It's no different than the extra point you get in hockey.
Okay, Marvin?
Yeah, everything that you mentioned, all the rules and everything you're talking about it really points to two things. It points to more offense, which they want to see, more offense, more points, and a faster game, which is good. A more efficient game, and just getting away from using technology to getting away from all the delayed things that happen whenever they have to review stuff and all that. So I'm for it. They're trying to make the game faster. I get it. Points is where people want to see points, even though defense is really where you win games. And it's just a sign of the times, man. It is what it is. And Jeremy, let me tell you, that wedge, no, man, it's horrible. I was a lead blocking fullback. I love the environment. The wedge was horrible for the game, man. Horrible. Mel, tell him it is not good for the game. That's old school in a bad way. Trust me.
All right, well, you know what? You just segued over to Mel. Go ahead.
Yeah, the wedge was not good. We played against Arizona. They had two twins, Singleton twins. They were like defensive linemen or something like that. And they were like, 280 apiece, and they were wedge busters. And, I hate to say it, but I just threw a couple lookout blocks, man. I saw my guy go head over heels, man, one time. That guy was coming down with a full head of steam. There was no way I was going to get in front of him. I mean, I had to make a business decision. I'll be perfectly honest about that. I made a business decision. But I do like to see the rule changes are good in that aspect because you get rid of the wedge. There are guys that's what their job was, to blow up the wedge. And they were big human beings and they didn't care about, and, back then, you come in there with your head and stuff like that. I mean, that was a headache drill. But the one rule, I don't mind. I like the kickoff. I like to see that there's more kickoffs. I said, the way that you have to, the way you encourage more kickoffs, you have to penalize the kicking team more. You have to make it to where it makes more sense to kick the ball and let them have an opportunity to run it back as opposed to kicking it through the end zone. Last year, it had a 30-yard line. Guys were still kicking it through the end zone. Now the field position is you get it at the 35. That those 5 yards is a big difference because now you're only talking about maybe, with the way these kickers are kicking now, you're only talking about 20, 25 yards to get in the field goal range now. So that's a big difference. And yards are hard to come by in the NFL. The one rule I would like them to take a look at is that quarterback sliding rule. And I think it happened to somebody in college. I can't remember who it was, what team it was. Maybe one of you guys did, where a guy gave himself up and, the defender was, he was committed already and the poor quarterback got knocked out. Was it the kid from Florida State? I can't remember who it was. No, it wasn't Florida State. I can't remember who it was, but I think that once you get, what's that?
Last year it happened to Trevor Lawrence in the Jags game.
No, yeah, it just happened to somebody this week. I can't remember who it was.
It happened to
It was
Justin
nasty
Fields
too, though. But
Justin Fields got lit up.
Yeah, he did.
no, it was in college. But my thing
okay.
is, I think and I know they're not going to change the rule, but once you commit yourself as a runner, you should have no more protections. I think that's my opinion. You should have no more protections. I know they're not going to change it because it is very difficult on the defense to, you see guys like Patrick Mahomes, they'll dance around like they're going out of bounds, and all of a sudden they'll drop, lower their shoulder, and then the defender gets embarrassed because he thinks he's going out of bounds. I think they should lose their protection because once they decide to get out of the pocket, and also it protects them as well because when they do slide, a lot of times they slide too late. Guys are already committed, and ugly things happen. Like I was mentioning in the game that I saw this past weekend, where a kid, man, it was one of those hits. Who was the guy from Chicago that I think that was like the first guy that we saw that gave himself up and just got laid out, and it was really ugly. And this one was pretty ugly too. But I think that's something that they really need to take a look at, which I know that they won't, again, because they want to protect the quarterback, because they want to score, like Marvin talked about. They want more offense out there. That's why they make it. That's why they penalize the defense so much for just about everything. These guys are running around the field and don't have to worry about getting hit. But anything that's going to make the game better, I'm all for it. I like to see more kickoffs, give guys an opportunity to take it the length of the field. It can change a game. You can't have game changers back there. Tyreek Hill, that's how he made his hay on the kickoff return team. And the crazy thing is, you think about it, back in the day, you used to have your best players back there. Gale Sayers used to be back there, running back kickoffs and running back punts. Lynn Barney, he used to run back punts. That was a big thing that he did. He's in the Hall of Fame. A lot of big time players, used to also, give them another opportunity with the ball in their hands, and and the opportunity to make something happen. That it would be, you can't do it now with the kind of money they're paying these guys now, but it'd be nice to see some of these other cats have an opportunity to play some special teams and do some dynamic things.
Tommy?
Yeah, with the kickoff, anytime they're doing something to address safety, I'm not going to object to what the rules are. If they're trying to get more kickoffs, great, but it's still taking taking time to get used to seeing the formation, seeing them line up the way they do now. In college, there's so many good kickers that seems like almost all the kickoffs are touchbacks. So maybe college needs to go to that rule too, find a way to have more kickoff returns that are with more safety involved. The overtime, I've always hated the NFL overtime, especially back in the days where you got the ball first, and if you scored, the game was over. The other team never even got a chance. The college rule for the overtime seems to have been refined to the best system, so both teams have a chance. I'd like to see the NFL go to that. I don't know why we have to play a regular quarter. And then, you see so many defensive players get caught in the middle between hitting a sliding quarterback that rule's got to be changed, adjusted, so that the smart quarterbacks can't take advantage of it, and you end up seeing targeting too when the quarterback lowers his head and the defensive player lowers his body, and then he didn't really intend to hit him with his crown, you don't think, but that's the way it played out.
Steven?
For the most part, the rule changes this past year is good. Like you don't really see the chain gang come out and do the measurement as much. Having the digital measurement is a good thing. I have no problems with the kickoff rule change. Obviously, speed of the game, excitement of the game, player safety all plays into why they have that rule. You're seeing teams already overcoming where the kickoffs are going with these knuckleball kicks that we've been seeing over the past few weeks from multiple different teams. the playoff rule, everyone should have a chance to possess the ball in overtime. It doesn't matter if it's regular season, playoff, whatever. The thing that I don't like about what I've seen this season is the excessiveness that we're getting. We're seeing the taunting call when guys are just being football players, being excited about plays, and there's no rhyme or reason to it. You watched 2 weeks ago, Patrick Mahomes scores a touchdown and literally points right at the defensive player, spins the ball in the end zone, no flag called. But then you go back, a couple weeks, you see similar type situations. The step over, we've seen it called a couple times over the last year. Guy makes a big tackle, steps over the opponent, 15-yard penalty for what? He stepped over him. He was underneath him. What do you want these guys to do? There's no rhyme or reason to it. Like this is what I've been sitting there saying. Like this is the no fun league taken back over again. These are young guys. They're excited. They made a big play. When a guy's flexing and he's nowhere in the direction of the player, and you're hitting him for a 15-yard penalty because he just tackled the guy for a big loss in the backfield. Second down, third down, whatever it happens to be. You're taking a part of the game and just making it a negative thing, where 9 times out of 10 it's not really directed at the player or taunting the player. They're excited about they just made a big play. I think we need to revisit this aspect on what the referees are calling this on, because there is no rhyme or reason to it. I've seen it go against my Eagles. I've seen it go against a bunch of other teams throughout the season. It's ridiculous. And to even furthermore, what we're already talking about, once the quarterback leaves the pocket in the sliding thing, you have some mobile quarterbacks, and I know, you want to keep the quarterbacks protected in the game, but at a certain point, what we were talking about, you have some guys, they know exactly what's going to happen, and, they'll purposely hold off on a slide for, a step or two more to know to get that player to go in the air, slide down and get cracked at another 15 yards. They're in field goal range. They're across the 50-yard line. That giving them a fresh set of downs. Whatever. It's something that has to change, because literally everything is tilted so far on the offensive side. Defensive football isn't what it used to be. We talk about some of the situations brought up, when these guys are leading with their helmet. In the Eagles loss a few weeks ago, there was 3 different plays where the offensive players are leading with the helmet. There's no flag called. There was no fines after the game. You can't, if we're going to do it, it has to go both ways, because you can't sit there and flag the defensive players for it, but when the offensive players do it, you don't flag them too. It has to go both ways. So obviously it's not a perfect game, but it's a game we all love. But that's my only downside to what I've seen for this year's officiating and rule changes.
All right, so who's left?
Me.
Andy.
And then I'll have one last thing to say, and we'll keep the show rolling.
So I do have to say that I do like that for overtime, both teams do get to possess the ball, because I never thought it was fair that, hey, if you won the toss and you took it down and you scored, you won. But do I like the fact that it can end in a tie? Because let's face it, the Packers now have a tie. It'll make it interesting at the end of the year. I'm not crazy about a tie, but it is what it is. The one thing that I do like is if it's used effectively and efficiently, the expanded review, that they're allowed to it doesn't have to be a coach's challenge, that they can go back and look at some of these plays to see and review them to make sure that, yes, that was a penalty, or yes, that was a catch, without having to be, and they do it pretty quick. Like, I haven't seen where it takes a long time, but as long as it's consistent that they're doing it for all of them, I'm okay with it. When you're doing it only from only one team, then no. But to get the play right and called right, I do agree that I do like that change.
The only thing I'm going to add to this is that you have the United Football League. They try a lot of different things. I wouldn't mind seeing them go into the UFL and maybe add 1 or 2 wrinkles that they have. You see all this stuff in live game action. Why not put it in there? Let's continue on. I have a lot more to get to. All right, let's have some fun with this particular topic, okay? Because we are going to have fun with it, and we have more serious ones to get to. The oldest quarterbacks to start in the National Football League include Tom Brady, 45, Vinny Testaverde, 44, Steve DeBerg, 44, Warren Moon, 44, Doug Flutie, 43. I'm going to keep this one very easy, okay? Very easy. Of this group of quarterbacks, which one would you like to see? Is there only one choice here? Would you like to see in today's NFL? Jeremy, lead off.
The one that was in it, Tom Brady.
Okay. Candy.
Tom Brady.
Marvin.
Growing up, I was a huge Warren Moon fan. Let's go with Warren.
Okay. Tommy.
What happened to Earl Morrall? He used to have a rocking chair in the locker room when he had to become the Miami Dolphins quarterback. How old was he?
Earl Morrall. I actually met him, but that wasn't one of the choices. But unless you want to put none of the above in there, then it becomes one. All right.
When I think of old quarterbacks, I think of Earl Morrall.
All right, I'll put him in there.
I like Marvin's choice of Warren Moon.
I'll put Earl Morrall.
Never liked Tom Brady.
You know what? Earl Morrall is your choice because
I can imagine you didn't, Tom, with the Michigan State stuff.
I'm just putting the Earl Morrall in because it was none of the above, just to keep it different. Okay, Steven.
I'm going Marvin this one. It has to be Warren Moon. I mean, you are missing George Blanda on the list because I think he was way older than Tom Brady by the time he hung it up. But Warren Moon in this day and age in football, in his prime, there's no question about it. He'd be throwing for almost 5,000 every year because he was. I think he's probably one of the more underrated, underappreciated black quarterbacks from his era. Everyone talks about Randall Cunningham and all these other guys, and Warren Moon, for whatever reason, just doesn't get the love. I don't get it. But he's definitely my pick there. We've seen enough Tom Brady. We don't need to run that back. Vinny Testaverde was living off that Miami Hurricanes hype for just about his entire career. I think he was extremely overvalued, but Warren Moon has to be the census, at least in my opinion.
And I'll go different. I'd like to see Doug Flutie. Come on, give me a break. Wonder how a little guy like him to run around this league. Go ahead, Tommy. I'll say Doug Flutie.
I was curious about Earl Morrall's age, that 72 season when he filled in for Bob Greasy and kept him undefeated. He was 38 at the time. And if we take into account that's 50 years ago, the new 43 equates to 38 back then.
Let me tell you, I actually met Earl Morrall many years ago at the Orange Bowl when the Miami Hurricanes took on Michigan State, and I got to know him and talk to him. He's a pretty good guy, and he knows his stuff. So actually, I'm glad you brought him up. But I'm going with Doug
remember
Flutie.
He had that rocking chair in the locker room.
Well, I didn't pay attention to it back then. I was too young to know any better anyway. All right, well, let's go back to college. And this is the one that I'm really interested in with all the college openings. So let's talk about Ed Orgeron is considering a return from coaching after a 4-year retirement. And he was recently at Grambling State University attending a practice. So let's talk about the actual best fit for this guy. And, here's the thing. He's a character guy who won a national championship with LSU. I'm going to say something first. I'd like to see him go to Oregon State, and he can do whatever he wants up there, and they won't get in the way. He's earned enough money. Go to Oregon State, Ed Orgeron. Then we'll call it Orgeron State University. That's my pick for Ed Orgeron. Okay, with that said, Mel, where do you want to see Ed Orgeron go? Because he's going to get hired again. Who would want to hire him with all the changes in there? This guy's hireable. And he won an Natty Orgeron State University. And they'll go out there and have a field day up in Corvallis. Mel?
I mean, wherever he wants to go. Oregon State is a tough program. I understand he may have interest in that job, but that's not an easy program. That's not like LSU. That's a big difference from LSU. But if he wants to go there, more power to him. I mean, I think Marvin might know better than I, but Ed's a great recruiter. I think he's a good coach. I think he's a good motivator of men. I think he's a good leader. For whatever reason, he fell out of the folks down there in Baton Rouge fell out of love with him real quick, and and we're happy to pay him to leave. And Ed was happy to take the check and leave. He just asked him, which door would you like me to leave out of when you're paying him that kind of money? But wherever he would like to go, it doesn't really matter to me. This is he going to get one of those? Is he going to be Penn State? I doubt it. Maybe Oklahoma State might. I think Oklahoma State's probably a better job than Oregon State. Oregon State is a tough job.
Okay.
So I think he'll have his choice of good programs. He'll have a number of schools looking at him, and because of the fact that he did win a national championship, he was able to do that. But we'll just have to kind of wait and see. And obviously, there's going to be some more jobs that are going to open up. The Florida State job is probably going to open up here shortly. Who knows? Clemson may become available. I don't know. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Marvin?
Listen, when I was at USC, we had a young Ed Ogeron as our D-line coach. In my 4 years at USC, we had Ed Ogeron and Rod Marinelli as our defensive line coaches. Ogeron was great, man. Great energy, authentic, just a man's man, love football. And, I really enjoyed my time with him. This guy loves LA. He loves LA. He is a legitimate recruiter. He is an elite level recruiter. He has deep ties, not just in Southern California, but in the South. And if I'm UCLA, I am going after the big name, LA known Ed Ogeron without question. I'm letting Jerry Newhouser run the O. Ed Ogeron and his crew going to take care of that D. But he's recruiting. He's bringing players in there. The question is, because what he's going to want to do, he's going to want to go somewhere who's committed to football. And sincerely, I don't know if that's the Bruins financially. That's what it's going to come down to. But he was outstanding at USC. He, in the Pete Carroll era as well. He was a big part of Pete's run. So if I'm the UCLA Bruins athletic director, that's the first guy I'm calling.
I don't know why I had a feeling you were going to go there, but great minds think alike is all I'm going to say with you, Marvin. I knew you were going there. That's why I called on you next. All right, Tommy, who haven't I called on? We got Mel.
Marvin's trying to set up your program. He wants.
There you go. All right, Tommy.
You're learning me, Tom. You're learning me.
Yeah, don't worry. You get to learn each other again tomorrow night, too.
He was a loudmouth assistant coach who fell into a luck with Joe Burrows and all of Les Miles' players. And then he was Icarus flying too close to the sun with his national title. He was messing around with women. He was popping off. And LSU went right down the tubes right away once he was the boss. And that'll be the situation with whatever job he gets as a head coach. He was made to be an assistant coach, and he lost sight of who he was.
Steven?
Yeah, obviously, he's a guy that has some prestige to him. Obviously he'll probably be linked to a few of these recent hirings. Mel doesn't think he wound up in Penn State. Obviously, a few of those big Florida jobs will come available. Obviously, some of the interviews we'd have with some of the athletes on here, Florida is one of the premier states where a lot of these top flight recruits and current former NFL players come out of down there. It'd be a lot easier for him to recruit getting one of those Florida based jobs that are available. We'll see if it's Florida State, Florida, whatever. But as Marvin's already talked about, if he's already got that affinity out there in California, won't be surprised to see him take one of those jobs out there. But you never know. There could be a dark horse, in all these programs that we're naming that we haven't gotten a chance to talk about. So we'll see where he ends up. Obviously the homer in me will say Penn State, but I have a feeling that's not where he's gonna wind up. He may want to get to one of these premier programs. You never know. He might want to go with some of these other ones and just build a program from the ground up and kind of really attach himself to a horse, so to speak.
Jeremy?
I got 3. and nobody's mentioned him, but he's got ties to him because he was an assistant coach early in his career between the 80s and 90s. Number one was Arkansas, where he was the assistant strength and conditioning coach for 8 years. Number two was UAB, where he was the strength and conditioning coach. And the other one is the Virginia Tech Hokies.
Yeah, you know what? For some reason, I think you're on target with at least two of those. UAB could be a good job for him in Virginia Tech. Great stuff. Okay. Candy, you have the last word. I've already mentioned Oregon State or Oregon State, and we have a lot more to get to. Go ahead, Candy.
Let's make a splash. Let's have the Florida Gators hire him.
Ooh, that would be a splash. All right. That would really be a splash. All right, let's continue on here. Bills legend Jim Kelly on the Bills Argos partnership and growing the game of football. The bottom line, it's a love that we have for football, each other. Well, as we are on the heels of the World Series, we all know that Toronto and Buffalo are buddies. So I might as well bring up a Jim Kelly sighting about the Argos and the Bills. So let's go ahead, Jeremy. What are your thoughts? You live near a border town anyways with Detroit. How do you like what Jim Kelly is doing to promote the two places?
Well, I love it, but the main reason he's there is that his nephew, Chad Kelly, is the starting quarterback of the Argonauts. Right. But he does want to grow the football game, and that's why he was a part of all the rule changes the CFL had to make it closer to the NFL game, where they might not be doing, as of next season, the point for just missing a field goal, which I think is the most ridiculous thing I ever heard. If you're outside the upright,
yeah, I know. Don't go there with me. I have lots of opinions on that. But as far as Jim Kelly's involvement, yeah, that makes a good point. That his nephew, Chip Kelly, I think it is?
Chad Kelly.
Oh, Chad Kelly. Okay, yeah, there you go. All right, Candy.
You know, I think it's interesting.
Don't talk about Chip Kelly in this program. He's a bum.
He is.
Yeah, all right. Well, now he's a hashtag thanks to you.
I think it's a good marketing. Let's face it, the NFL keeps marketing themselves different ways. I think it's great for the Argonauts to come in and get a little help from the Buffalo Bills. And who better than Jim Kelly? I mean, he's well-known, well-liked. Everybody respects him. So kudos all around.
Marvin?
Listen, makes sense. You said it. Those two cities are neighbors and friendly. From a marketing standpoint, his brand has spread, as far as Toronto for sure. And listen, the NFL is pushing hard to get teams overseas. Don't be surprised if one of the first you see is in Toronto and Kelly's already a part of some type of ownership group. Don't be surprised if you see the Argonauts, become an NFL team one day. I don't know, but I think it's great for the game. He's a big name Hall of Famer, and anything he can do to push his brand and spread his name is just good for the game of football, I think.
Tommy?
Yeah, it's a natural fit because the cities are so closely tied, especially when it comes to the NFL. I'm sure Kelly played some games in Toronto because there was a period there when Buffalo was playing games in Toronto.
That's true. Great point.
Yeah. So it's a perfect fit.
Steven?
I mean, not surprising, obviously, having the family bloodline as the current quarterback there. But, Jim's not going to be the first, I guess, high-value name being attached to ownership groups that have been a part of that team. Obviously, Wayne Gretzky was part of an ownership group at one time. John Candy was part of the ownership group at one point in time. So this is not a new formula that the Argonauts are trotting out there. I don't think anyone was as involved as John Candy was. He would, he put a lot of his money into that. He would travel himself ragged, in between acting gigs whenever the season was going on to help grow that football team out. So seeing Jim involved now, as we already talked about, the close proximity, everything else, that it's something that makes sense. We'll see how it transforms onto the field, but as of right now, it's probably just something to just attach another big name to that organization.
James Burgess said it's funny. Lions versus Argonauts would be fun. Yeah, I think it'd be. All right, Mel, Go ahead, and then we have one more topic before our first station break. So go ahead, Mel.
Well, I don't know what the cost of entry is for a Canadian club, but it makes sense since President Trump has been talking about annexing Canada that Jim Kelly would be a part of this group, because then once he does that and then the CFL becomes a part of the NFL, he's already in on the ground floor. It makes all the sense in the world.
Boy, I love that take. That's all right. Quit while you're ahead. That was one of the best ones of the group. They're all good, though. That's why I brought this stuff again. We could have some fun stuff on there. All right, final topic before we go to a station break. Indiana actually is ranked in the top 4 for the first time since 1967. But get this, Indiana felt disrespected by ESPN because it really hadn't beaten anyone. I wonder what ESPN is thinking now that motivated Indiana to win at Oregon. And after the Oregon win, Indiana is 17-2 since hiring Curt Cignetti, and they were 3-9 before hiring him. So let's talk about the totality of the whole topic, okay? Do you think that Indiana feels disrespected and that ESPN lit a fire on them and the Ducks were duck soup over this whole thing? We'll start off with you, Jeremy.
Well, Curt Cignetti is like an elite head coach. Look what he did last year, getting him to the playoffs. And now he's here and he's doing it again. They just went off and knocked off Oregon at home in their house. You know, that's a big smack in the mouth to a powerhouse team in the Big Ten who's been doing it since they were in the Pac-12, which is now the 2-pack. But national ranking here right now, they're 7-0.
Right.
They should be higher. And I think that they should be probably back in the playoffs again this year.
Okay, Candy.
You know, Curt Cignetti is 5-time conference coach of the year and the 2024 national coach of the year. So him taking Indiana to where they have, let's face it, we've always thought of Indiana as a basketball school. He's the one that's making us rethink that and think that it may become a football school.
Marvin.
Listen, Curt Cignetti is making it. He's changing the standard really for what it is to expect for a new head coach. I'm looking at my guy Lincoln Riley next to Curt Cignetti, and Lincoln don't look too good, to be honest with you. Now I'm a Lincoln guy, and I think we're going to be okay. But Curt, I mean, out the gate took a non-football school you ain't heard of since Von Dunbar, and he's made them relevant, which is insane. And you look at in the Big Ten at that. It's not like he's in, no disrespect to the Big 12 or the ACC or, the Pac-2. This dude's in the Big Ten, arguably the most competitive conference in the country. And he's coaching at an elite level, which makes you question every other coach at every other school. It's like, what the hell are you doing? This guy had nobodies, brought up a bunch of FCS guys from James Madison, bunch of no-name coaches, and he's dominating, and they're, almost to the point where they're dominating college football. So kudos to him. I mean, this we're watching greatness with this guy, and Indiana has every reason to feel disrespected. That team is only getting better, and the fuel that they're getting from the media and these voters is just going to help them.
Tommy.
Yeah, if they're feeling slighted, I'm sure Curt Cignetti knows how to fan that flame. There's teams more talented in Indiana, so you got to give Curt Cignetti's coaching, his pure coaching, X's and O's, and adjusting during game, credit for what they're doing. However, I'm not convinced it's going to last. It is more transactional now, and he says they can get more players than Indiana was ever able to recruit in the past. All that is true. But what if he had signed Carson Beck or a different quarterback instead of Fernando Mendoza?
Right.
When Mendoza's just having an unbelievable year. He's perfection, and and he has a lot of his key players back from last year. Kamada, rush. What's the wide receiver's name? Sergetti. He's awesome. Is he going to be able to maintain that talent level? Is he going to hit it big with a quarterbacks? He had the perfect quarterback last year, not necessarily over the talented, but he knew how to run that team He was a good fit for that team. And then this year he's got an immensely talented quarterback. And I'm not convinced it's going to last in Indiana. They're always going to be good, but I don't know about one-loss teams in the future.
Steven?
Listen, we're already talking about some great stuff about what's going on with this program. CC over there is doing his job. Coming off a 10-win season last year, another big win over Michigan State. They just lost one of their linemen, so I'm with Tom here. I don't think it's something that is going to be sustainable. It's seeing them getting themselves out of the doorsteps of their conference is one thing, but I don't see them continuing to staying at the top of that AP poll throughout the next month or so. But we've seen stranger things happen. Obviously, it would be great to see some fresh blood in there. Somebody like that in the Indiana program would be great, but there's always a Cinderella story, but sometimes the slipper always comes off. So we'll see if Indiana is able to keep it up. I'd be inclined to say no, but stranger things have happened.
Mal?
I mean, the guy said it himself. I mean, Google me. All he does is win. So I believe him. And I think, he took it personally what the media was saying, and he went back and conveyed that message to his players, and his players responded. I feel, UCLA, they knock off Penn State. They beat Michigan State. They hang on and beat Maryland. And what do you get after that? You get an opportunity to play against Indiana. So I'm hoping that, I think that he's built that program the right way. I think he gets the players in there that fit his program. Everywhere he's gone, he's done that. Obviously, I don't wish him much success this weekend, but I think that he's built that program the right way, and I think that they will continue to win, because you have to understand that cupboard was bare when he took over that program. Right. I mean, he took over it wasn't a sleeping giant. That was a dead program. That program has never won. Most games they ever won were 9 games in the season, and that was back in like the 1940s. That program hasn't been a win. I mean, it's been just a dormant program, and he's brought it to life. He's brought that program to life from nothing. So I believe in him. I believe he knows what he's doing. I believe he knows what the type of players that he wants to recruit and attract to that program. And I think that they are going to be a force that's going to have to be reckoned with, unless somebody pays him $20 million a year to go somewhere else. I mean, every time a good job comes up, they're renewing, they're ripping up his old contract and signing him to a new one. And Indiana knows that. He's prime. I mean, everybody wants somebody like him. That's why they just redid his contract right after who was it got fired? Somebody got fired. Right after James Franklin got fired. Right. That's why they redid his contract, because he is from Pennsylvania, and that would have been probably an ideal situation. I'm sure Penn State would have probably thrown about $15 million a year to come over there, maybe even more. I don't know, but no, I think he knows what he's doing. He's an excellent football coach.
All right, Candy, did you say everything, or we're all set? So why don't you go to a station break? When we come back, we're going to talk NFL. We're going to talk about where James Franklin, and some of these topics will be in rapid fire. Go ahead, Candy.
South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. Talks about his 40-plus years in the media industry and how it has evolved and changed. Old school media versus new school media. Get your copy today. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. There is also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there's a plethora of great content, so go check it out. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. If you see the red subscribe button in that lower right-hand corner, that means you have not yet subscribed to us. What are you waiting for? Just do it. Click it, like us, share us, and then turn on your notifications so you're notified anytime we go live. Monday nights baseball, Tuesday nights football, Wednesday and Thursday nights. You just never know what you're going to get. So tune in to find out. But on Wednesday nights, I do like to highlight that on our No Limits, we have done 2 in the series so far. It has to do with CTE. We have a former Olympic bobsledder on. So tune in tomorrow night to watch that. And if you turn on the notifications, you'll be notified when we go live, so you won't miss it. If you want to advertise or sponsor a show, call Scott 954-304-4941. And if you want to be a guest or have topic ideas, you can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. But I do love when we have comments in the chat room, so thank you everybody for commenting. I do put them all up. We don't always read them all, but I do put them up. So thank you so much for being active in our chat room tonight.
Okay, let's talk NFL. The Cincinnati Bengals acquired Joe Flacco, but they could have had the Red Rifle, Andy Dalton. Bryce Young is out, so it's probably good that Carolina Panthers held on to Dalton. Let me talk about Dalton's stats when he was with the Bengals, okay? He had a 70-61-2 record, 204 touchdowns, 118 interceptions, 31,594 yards. All right, Jeremy, we'll start with you. Some thoughts about the current and what could have been in Cincinnati with Dalton.
Well, let's talk about his playoff production, because guess what? That dropped off a cliff. He was 0-9 in playoff games in his career with the Bengals. So therefore, they went with a guy that won a Super Bowl. And I think they're better off if they do somehow turn it around by the end of the season and make a playoff run, because let's face it, the AFC North is wide open. The Ravens defense looks like Swiss cheese with a fishing net. The Steelers defense seems to be tough. I had to take a breath for a second.
That's okay.
The Steelers defense looks sus as like all get out. They're offensively, they're fine. Their defense is letting up yards and letting teams beat them. So I think the Bengals did the right thing, because they might be able to compete with the Steelers.
Candy?
Yeah, Dalton, he played with Cincinnati for how many years, and then all of a sudden he bounced and bounced and bounced and bounced. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what he's gonna do. Let's just wait and see. That's what I'm gonna say. Marvin?
Yeah, listen, when the great Carson Palmer was in Cincinnati, he left, and the message that we really got was that Cincinnati wasn't committed to winning. A lot of issues with the ownership and paying players, and you saw what they went through this year with their own defense with Hendrickson, and you wonder, what Brown's really trying to do. Dalton had a solid career. He was a solid NFL quarterback, and he played on a Bengals team that was always good enough to get to the playoffs, but didn't have the talent or the ability to really to get over that hump. So it is what it is. Joe Flacco, listen, I'm assuming that the Bengals have a coach that coached Flacco at some point in his career, which helped ease the transition. With the playbook. I'm assuming he's back with one of his old offense coordinators, whatever it may be. I haven't looked that up. But Joe Flacco was smooth, man. He looked MVP. He looked Super Bowl MVP smooth, didn't he? Out there throwing that ball to them dynamic receivers. So this is the NFL, man. You love it. The NFL. Look, these quarterbacks. They mentally they get better with time. What happens is their bodies break down, but as they get older, the game slows down for them. So as long as his shoulder's okay, as long as he can get that snap, listen, this guy's gonna play well because the game is slow for him, and that's that. So let's see what they do with this.
Tommy?
Yeah, it would have been a nice homecoming story for him to go back to Cincinnati, but he's in a great situation at Carolina. He's 37 years old. He's content being the backup. He knew he was the backup for Bryce Young, the mentor for Bryce Young when they first brought him there. So he's in a position where he can make a lot of money for a few more years. I don't know if the Bengals tried to make a deal to get Dalton. I doubt it. I don't remember hearing any news. And they probably would have had to pay a higher price than they did for Flacco because Flacco was floundering in Cleveland. So obviously it worked out to get Flacco. He's played well so far. But Dalton's probably in a better position with Carolina as far as long term. And other than that, like I said, it would have been a good homecoming story.
Steven?
Listen, I think Joe wound up in the right place. He arguably has the best the best wide receiver core he's ever played with. He's in a good situation where he has an opportunity to take a team that is dying for some stability at the quarterback position. So I think Tom's absolutely right. Andy Dalton wasn't thinking about anything but holding a clipboard and helping out Bryce Young where he can, as far as getting acclimated to the ins and outs of being an NFL quarterback. And I think the only thing you get from this is Cleveland's an absolute dumpster fire. They do not know where they're doing, because how's 1 week Joe Flacco looks like he's absolutely roasted. There's nothing he can do. He could do to extend his career. He gets sent on a plane ride to Cincinnati, and he goes and beats and outduels Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think it's something fun for us to all talk about. But at the end of the day, I think Joe's in the right place, and God, it really must be bad to be a Browns fan at this point in time, because they just can't. There's no. I'm surprised Stefanski still has a job. I know we've been talking about this. Who's going to be on the hot seat? Who should be moving around? If Stefanski makes it through November, still being a head coach in the NFL, I'm lost. I don't get it.
Well, Mel, are you lost with your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I guess we're speaking hypothetically here, but I mean, so I assume it would make sense to trade for Andy Dalton. It would have made sense for Cincinnati to allow that to happen. So that, for Cleveland to do that, because not only do you trade somebody out of the division, you trade them out of the conference. But I mean, I guess that was too much like right for them to, allow that to happen. So first, what was that even in the cards? I don't know whether it was in the cards. And I think Andy Dalton, if I'm Andy Dalton, I'm happy being a backup, making backup money, whatever kind of money he was making. He's been to Cincinnati before. He knows what that's like. Joe Flacco, the clock's going to toll 12 at some point in time. And the real Joe Flacco is going to show up. Right. Last week was the pod man. That's somebody that came in from outer space and occupied his body for one game and played the way that he played. Now the pod man is going to leave and occupy somebody else's body, and the real Joe Flacco, he is going to show up. He's 40 some odd years old. He's going to hear those footsteps. He doesn't want to get hit. I trust me. I know this. He doesn't want to get hit. Yeah, like Marvin talks about. Yeah, the game is slowed down. For him, he can see things, but even though the game is slowed down and he can process it, it takes a while for that message to get from his brain to his right arm for him to be able to make the throws that he needs to be able to make. 5-10 years ago, he could process it a lot quicker and make those throws. It's only a matter of time once he runs into a good football team that the real Joe Flacco will show up. And I don't have anything against Joe. I like Joe Flacco. I think it's a great story with him and him winning the Super Bowl and all that stuff. But, at the end of the day, he is an older guy. He got benched for a reason. He wasn't going to play back in Cleveland. I mean, even though he was the backup quarterback on paper, he wasn't going to play because Cleveland needs to find out what they have with the two guys that they have, that they drafted this year to see if they're going to be back in the quarterback business next year.
Yeah, it's amazingly quarterbacks Cleveland started all year, and they're down to Shedeur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel. But yeah, so I'm really actually happy that Andy Dalton is in Carolina. And Joe Flacco, hey, listen, this is a chance for him to find himself a spot in Cincinnati if he's really liked over there. Let's continue on. Let's go to the New York Jets, the first team in NFL history to start the NFL season 0-5 and have 0 takeaways. These are now worse, or 0-7. Owner Woody Johnson is backing Aaron Glenn as he should, but I'll tell you, he's not backing Justin Fields, and as you can tell. So I know this is going to be a loaded topic. I realize it. We have a couple more of those, and we'll ease up on the gas a little bit. So, Jeremy, what are your thoughts about the Jets dumpster fire?
Aaron Glenn has to teach his team how to win. That's what it all boils down to. The reason why they have faith in him is because we kind of saw this in 2021 when he was defensive coordinator of a team that was stripped to the bare bones. The difference is this team had the same talent on defense that it had the year before. Quinnen Williams is out, therefore they can't stop the run, and he also collapsed the pocket, which made the life easier on the secondary. Even though Sauce Gardner is still giving up the least amount of receptions, he's giving up touchdowns now, which is a big difference from what we've seen in his career as a Cincinnati Bearcat and early with the New York Jets. So I think he made his biggest mistake he made was getting a rookie offensive coordinator when he was a defensive-minded coach.
Okay, Candy.
Just because you have success as a defensive coordinator doesn't mean you're going to have success as a coach. And let's face it, you probably went to the absolute worst spot you could go to. I mean, the Jets are just a dumpster fire. Like, they're nothing good. Nothing good can I say about them. I'm sorry. They're just, they're not having a good year. These last couple of games, they've held the defense has held the opponent to only 13 points, but yet the offense can't score more points against to win the game. So, I understand he wanted to go. He wanted to get a head coaching job. The only thing I will say is that I don't think in today's day and age, in the win now society, that if they don't start turning it around and even looking better, he won't be a one and done.
Marvin.
The issue with the Jets is that going into this season, the experts, the fans, the players thought that the Jets were a potential playoff team. We thought that we were, a coach away and, a mid quarterback away from maybe a wild card, maybe a run at Buffalo. And at 0-7, and you look at how bad Justin is playing, holding the ball for almost 4 seconds, overthrowing receivers, underthrowing receivers, not throwing the ball as if he's scared to throw the ball. And you see a defense that was considered to be a good NFL defense, not average, not above average, but a good NFL defense. You saw the potential for that. And, we bring in AG, former Jet great, which he was, all-pro corner, one of the best players to ever play for the Jet organization at that position, without question. You saw his success in Detroit. But like Candy said, it's different when you're sitting in the passenger seat versus the driver's seat. It's different perspective, different pressure, different everything. It ain't nothing like it the same, okay? As a matter of fact, at the end of the day, even though in Detroit he was allowed to be in some of those conversations with the head coach and try to train for a job, the reality is he wasn't in that position. And this is his first time doing this. And for him, it's not about defense, it's about leadership. And it doesn't look good from that perspective of leadership. It does not look good in regards to how the game's being managed, clock, decisions with players, how he comes off in the press conferences. Right now, this is just a horrific situation. I posted on Facebook last week that Jet fans have to go ahead and be honest. We made a mistake letting Aaron Rodgers go. That was a mistake, because if right. Aaron Rodgers is now a year and a half after his injury and he's that much more healthy, what do you get? You get a guy who's better than Justin Fields, right? And you get better quarterback play. Now you're 3-4, 4-3 in contention for something. This is just horrific, especially when you look across town and we got to watch that other dumpster fire of New York Giants who just got a little spark and now they have life, in spite of that collapse last week on Sunday. And that was great. But in spite of that, they're still, they got a little spark. The Jets, man, listen, go ahead and do me like Old Yeller. You know what I'm saying? That's where I'm at right now. Just treat me like Old Yeller and let this be done.
Tommy.
Yeah, it's like you have to wonder if it's the old situation where a coach doesn't want to take a job because he's doomed to fail. But there's only 32 NFL jobs, so you understand why he took it. But yeah, it looked like he was walking into a bad situation, and it got worse when they settled for Justin Fields as a quarterback. Might as well settle for Russell Wilson.
Can
Another New
I
York.
interject one thing? The one thing that Justin Fields hasn't done, and it's the only thing you can say he's done well. He has not thrown an interception this year.
Yeah.
All right, well,
So,
that's fine.
I feel bad for Aaron Glenn.
He hasn't thrown the ball.
So I don't, Jeremy, I don't know how to even attack that. So we're celebrating that he doesn't truly suck so bad. He just sucks enough to where he can't throw touchdowns and win games.
Yeah.
So, okay,
there
so
we go.
You find a silver lining. Okay. Silver
I
lining.
found a silver lining. I'm a glass half full type of guy.
I feel better now.
You should.
Yeah. All right, who's left? Steven and Mel?
Yeah, it's me. Listen, I'm gonna say this. I don't think the New York Jet fan base should be turning on AG just yet. I don't think he's one of those guys that should be a one and done. I do think, along the lines of what Marvin was thinking, a lot of fans thought coming in, having one of the top 10 defenses in the NFL, they thought they were a coach and some spark there on offense. And for whatever reason that, Justin Fields is just not getting what's going on. This isn't the Justin Fields we've seen in the first half of last season, who was playing for Pittsburgh when Russell Wilson was out. He's not playing to that level. I agree with Jeremy. He could be doing worse with turning the ball over. And that's another important fact they don't really put on quarterbacks is just, protecting the ball. But as Marvin Center saying, if you're holding on to the ball too long and then not making plays at the same time and, not putting points on the board or and doing what a quarterback should be doing, you're inepting your team. Not giving up any more than 20 points over the last handful of games, but then you're barely putting up more than 10 points as far as your offense goes. I think you're right. I think that letting Aaron Rodgers go was a mistake, regardless of what the circus is that surrounds Aaron. I think he would have given you at least stability. I think what New York was thinking of bringing Justin in was getting one of these young guys who has potential that could save them from having to draft a quarterback at any point in time in the next 3 years. At this point in time, I think it's almost inevitable that being that they're already 0-7, you might as well check out for this season, see where you're going to fall draft wise, and go get yourself a young arm, get yourself somebody that can infuse some life into your football team, like what we've seen going on with the New York Giants and Jackson Dart right now. I think the difference with the Giants is they have Jackson Dart and that kid Cam. Where if you're a Jet right now, the trade deadline's coming up. I might be seeing where you're going to trade Mr. Hall to seeing you get some more picks. Get somebody else in there to help you next season. Help your defense out a little bit more. I don't know, but you're definitely going to have to change a lot of things on the offensive side of the ball. But I'm not putting it all on Aaron Glenn. I think it's safe to say that that Jets front office has to be bottom 5 in the NFL as far as bringing the right guys in, keeping the right guys, etc. So we'll see what happens moving forward. But if you're a Jets fan, it's absolutely rough. I think seeing some the local news interviewing a kid, he's like, I was born into this, but as Marvin was saying, just shoot me now. I would probably be feeling the same way if I was a Jets fan, but it's not all raining over there. There is some bright things to kind of look forward to, but I think at this point in time, Justin Fields isn't the answer, and he's got to really wonder where he's going to be, what he's going to do moving forward.
Okay,
contract.
Just so you know, we're going to go rapid fire the rest of the way after Mel gets on. Jeremy, you want to say what you're going to say? And I repeat rapid fire as we get ready to wrap up.
I said what I had to say.
We have a few more things we want to get to. We're going to talk about the Lions. Everything goes rapid fire after the Lions topic. Mel, go ahead.
I've defended Justin. I wanted him to get an opportunity. I mean, you just have to call it for what it is. Unfortunately, he can't play the position at a level in which you can succeed as a team. I mean, that's what his play is showing. I don't have anything against him personally, anything like that. I've always hoped for the best for him. Like I said, I've defended him, I've rooted for him, but he cannot play the position well enough for your franchise to be successful. I'm not saying Tyrod Taylor's the answer. I don't know why they brought him in as the backup. I thought they would have brought somebody a little younger in for Aaron Glenn. I think you got to give Aaron Glenn an opportunity. I remember Dan Campbell's first year in Detroit. It wasn't very good. It wasn't very pretty. They didn't win a lot of ball games. They lost quite a few ball games in a row to start out the season. And then towards the end of the season, things started turning around. I'm not going to say that's going to happen with the Jets because of the quarterback situation, who they have, they had Jared Goff there. So, I mean, they brought in the type of personnel that they wanted. I can't say what's going to happen with the Jets, but I'd like to see him get an opportunity. You can't win starting all over again year in and year out. You had to put together a plan, then you have to go out there and execute their plan. I don't know whose decision it was to bring in Justin Fields. I don't know why they made that decision to bring him in. Obviously, maybe Aaron from playing against him when he was at Chicago, maybe he saw something there. He gave him an opportunity. It didn't work out. Now you have to turn the page. You have to move on, and now you have to come up with a new plan. I don't know what that new plan is. Tyrod Taylor, I'm sure, is not the plan. Maybe it's just to, get the overall number one pick and try to get somebody in the draft and start all over at that position. But there's some guys out there, Mac Jones, I don't know if he's going to be available. There's some guys that can play the position that, other teams have given up on, similar to what happened with the Giants and Daniel Jones. And look at Daniel Jones. He's in, has some new surroundings, and he's playing very, very, very well. I've always liked Mac Jones. You look at what the guy with the Chargers now, the backup that was started out with San Francisco, went to Dallas, and now he's over there with the Chargers backing up. There's some talented guys out there, man. You got to get your hands on one of these guys and maybe give them a different environment, different scenery, and see what can happen.
Okay, let's go rapid fire. We're going to talk about the Lions, and I repeat, rapid fire. The Lions, obviously, going into last night's game, since 2023, they were 8-1 after a loss, make it 9-1 now. Jahmyr Gibbs had a career game for 218 yards at total offense. Detroit is now 9-1. And get this, Jared Goff's pass TDs by quarter, and this is an unbelievable stat. You had through two seasons, he had two TD passes in the first quarter. In the second quarter, he has 20. Third, he has 17. And then, obviously, in the fourth quarter, he's got 13. And to make matters even more interesting about what happened with the Lions, I talked about Jahmyr Gibbs having 218 yards from scrimmage, the most by a Lions player since Calvin Johnson in 2013. The Lions, 5 consecutive wins on Monday Night Football. They're 13-3 in primetime games under Dan Campbell and 9-2 on Monday Night Football. I repeat, Jeremy, rapid fire. I know you have a lot, and I want to get to a few other things, but I'll let you start off first.
Well, I want to say all we heard is how the Baker Mayfield and the Bucks were going to tear up that secondary. That secondary forced a total of 22 incompletions, 12 passes defended, and you only had 4 names that were not on the starting roster in there, which were the backups, which I dubbed the Legion of Whom 2.0. It was just like when we were hurt last year, kept winning games in the regular season with backups. Nick Whiteside, Eric Hallett, Rock Ya-Sin, and the fourth one was Thomas Harper. That's 4 guys starting in a place where they never started before. 2 guys were elevated from the practice squad.
Okay, great stuff, Jeremy, as always. Especially cover the Lions. He covers the Lions for kneecap fighting, and time permitting, everybody will be able to get what they have to get in. Candy?
I'm going to give props to Dan Campbell because I think he's really changed the culture there, and he's really brought it. And I think that's why that he can even bring in, you get injuries in the secondary and you bring in other guys and they want to play for him. And it shows. And I think that makes a big difference.
When a team wears a patch for Brian Branch because he got suspended, that's called unity in the locker room. That's all I'll say about it. Brian Branch has moved on. He's learned his lesson about what he did. We won't talk about it in detail, but I was happy about the unified nature. Go ahead, Marvin.
I agree with Candy 100%. Dan Campbell, he's the secret sauce there, which is something that you wouldn't have thought when he first got there. People made fun of his interviews, his disposition, his delivery. It's a different approach, if you will, something that it's not the Bill Walsh or Bill Belichick approach by any means. This different style of doing a different energy, but it's working, and he's building, and the players are bought in, and he's amazing. Jared Goff is just this is another Daniel Jones story, another Baker Mayfield story. Listen, these guys need time. Drew Brees just came out and said these guys need 50 starts, 50 quality starts between college and the NFL before they can get it right. Goff had success in LA with McVay, but the reality is McVay kicked him out because he didn't feel he was the guy. This kid's getting better. He'll continue to get better and get more reps, and the game will continue to slow down for him.
Tommy?
Jamar Gibbs, like to see a team emphasizing a running back. Wasn't that long ago they said running backs weren't important in the NFL anymore. So I'd like to see a guy like him, physical, quick, catching the ball. He did it all.
Steven?
I'm not surprised that, Detroit, handled business, knocked Tampa out of that number one slot in the NFC there. And, they had a couple rough games there. Not a lot of people were happy with how the Detroit Kansas City game ended, obviously, as we're already talking about the patch for Brain. No, I'm not going to, say what Brain did was a smart move, but it's one of the things that shows that Dan Campbell is absolutely the reason why there's a different life down there in Detroit. What Marvin was talking about, no one was liking his interviews and stuff like that. It's like the Nick Sirianni effect here in Philadelphia. They, those guys in that locker room just identify with Dan in a way where a lot of the traditional coaches, have fallen short. May not have been, the immediate results you see in some of these other places, but I think Dan's one of the main reasons why you see Detroit being one of those top teams that we've talked about in the NFC over the past handful of seasons. So, everyone talks about Jared Goff. We just see a comment in the chat here. Let's not forget about Jahmyr Gibbs. You got Amon St. Brown. You have guys on that team that can push them. I firmly believe that Detroit's going to be in the NFC Championship game. I do believe they're gonna handle the NFC North. Sorry, Candy, your Packers are gonna fall short to them this season. That's just how I see it. They're just like any team. They have flaws. You're not gonna see these teams just be perfect and have their 60 plays and put up 40 points all the time. It's not always going to be that, but with having a guy like Dan there, they're always going to be in the fight. It was good to see them handle Tampa Bay. Unfortunately, Tampa Bay lose their wide receiver. He's gonna lose his record this year because Mike Evans isn't gonna get another 1,000-yard receiving after 11 straight seasons of getting 1,000 yards. It's gonna be tough down there in Tampa. You wonder how they fall off because they're having a lot of injuries at that wide receiver position. So where does that leave the whole picture of the NFC should be the question of this. But Detroit is going to be a powerhouse in the NFC over the next handful of years.
I will turn over to Mel. A few more topics to get to. Rapid fire. We only got about 15 minutes to get them done, and I assure you we will get them done. Mel, go ahead.
Yeah, Dan Campbell's the key to all of it. I mean, look what he's done with that team. That cupboard was bare when he took over the Detroit Lions. So, Dan Campbell, I think he just gets back to doing what he knows wins football games. You have to block, tackle, and you need to be able to run the football. You need to be physical. You need to be able to dominate the line of scrimmage, and that's what they did. They went out there and ran the ball effectively. Whenever you run the ball effectively, it makes the running game much easier. I mean, Jared Goff didn't throw for a lot of yards. He had a great completion percentage, but the Lions were very, very physical. They out physical the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and that's why they were able to come out with that W. So whenever you find, except for Philadelphia, who decided to throw the ball a whole bunch, but most times when you find yourself struggling, you get back to the basics. Like San Francisco did the same thing. Kyle Shanahan said he wanted to run the ball 40 times. Well, I think they're a couple shy of running the ball 40 times. So whenever things go awry, get back to the basics: blocking, tackling, being physical, dominating the line of scrimmage, and running the football, and good things will happen.
Okay, let's go on to Urban Meyer. We're going to make this real quick. Okay, rarity by him. NCAA did the right thing by not punishing Michigan's current players, and that's pretty much the nature of it. So I'm going to go ahead and read the quote. He says, Urban Meyer is happy for the Michigan current players and says they did the right thing by not punishing the current players. Jeremy, yes or no? Did they do the right thing by not punishing Michigan's current players?
Yes, because they didn't commit the whole thing. It was done by the previous coaching staff during the national championship season. Most of these kids were not there. You're talking 2 years removed now. So why do you punish the kid?
Candy?
I agree. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to leave it just at that.
Marvin?
I completely agree. Why would you punish the kids in that situation? They didn't commit the crime.
Tommy?
Why would we listen to Urban Meyer about breaking rules in Michigan? And if it's Michigan, it should have been a 10-year probation and stripped them of the national title.
There you go. Coming from a true Michigan State guy. Okay. All right, Stephen, Nick, keep it KISS. Okay. You agree?
I agree with it. The kid shouldn't be punished with it. Agree with Tom. Why are we listening to Urban Meyer on etiquette on who should be punished for what?
I agree. Totally agree. All right, Mel.
Yeah, I agree. The kids shouldn't be punished.
Okay. All right. Well, here's a pretty good story. Okay. Fox NFL.
I agree. The kids should not be punished.
Gotcha. Okay. Great story. Fox NFL Pam Oliver was inducted into the Sports Broadcasting Hall of Fame for the 2025 Sports Video Group. Pam Oliver, great broadcaster. Some thoughts about the honor that she rightfully deserves. We'll start with Jeremy.
Congrats to her. She's been in the league now doing this for how long? 20 some odd years.
All right.
She's well deserved.
Candy?
Well deserved. She's covered over 500 NFL games, making her the league's longest tenured sideline reporter. She's known for her candid interviewing style and her storytelling skills. She's respected in sports media. Love seeing that.
Marvin?
A pro's pro, great personality. Really made you feel good about watching the game, and she deserves what she gets.
Tommy?
Yeah, it's a well-deserved honor. It's also a positive or an enlightening statement by the TV world and America in general that a woman has lasted that long. I think she's 60 by now.
Wow.
It used to be if a woman turned 40, they were getting rid of her. So she's had a great career and a great representation of a modern America.
Steven?
Oh, listen, I think you guys are just touching on it. Pam, a lot of us have grown up with Pam Oliver as a sideline.
Okay. Steven? Cutting out.
I think he froze.
All right. Well, that's okay. Go ahead, Steven.
Freezing.
All right. Well, that's all right, Mel. Go ahead. Well, he's frozen. You're unfrozen. Go ahead, Mel.
Yeah, I think it's a great honor for Pam Oliver. I mean, she's standing on the shoulders of giants. I remember watching Jane Kennedy. She was one of the first ones that I ever saw female do it. And, Pam Oliver's been doing it for a very, very long time and been doing it at a high level. But, yeah, she is it's definitely an honor well-deserved, but she is standing on the shoulders of giants.
Yeah, I met Jane Kennedy at the NSMA. Steven, are you unfrozen or are you all set?
Yeah, just a momentary lapse here. But yeah, just in an age where you see these ESPN and all they recycle the sideline every 10 years. To see somebody like Pam Olive just continue to be there is a testament to who she is and the professionalism that she brings.
Great stuff. Okay, well, two more things I want to touch base on. Now, I'll tell you, the Rams found the perfect way to beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. All they did was practice at Camden Yards, and I repeat, not the football stadium, but the Oriole Stadium for their London matchup as they blew out the Jaguars 35-7. Jeremy, that was pretty good stuff. I don't get into particulars, but if you're gonna, they let them play at the baseball stadium. When I saw the picture, it was a pretty unique dynamic.
Well, it was smart to get over there and practice all week rather than fly in and be jet lagged, because the Jags were there all week too, because they had just played in London the week before. So kudos to them to matching them and being able to beat them at their own game.
There you go, Candy.
Yeah, the Jags. That's their second home, right? London,
Right.
Because that's where their owner is, Ben, and they've been going over there for so many years. So you would think that they'd have the home field advantage. But kudos to the other team for taking it from them. And
Marvin.
Yeah, again, Candy said it. This is Jags territory. So for it to happen like this, any given Sunday.
Yeah, there you go. Shad Khan, Wembley Stadium. It's all set up for Tom Shanahan.
Yeah, it seems like the NFL has built that into the schedule for the West Coast teams. You see a lot of them, they'll play a game on the East Coast, and then they'll fly over to London. And, it was nice of Camden Yards to make their facility available. Plenty of college teams in that area, but they're probably all busy with their own teams. So there probably wasn't as much available as you might think.
Yeah, when I saw the picture of Camden Yards, I thought it was pretty cool. But the fact is, they got to do what they had to do, and then he took the flight to London. Go ahead, Stephen.
I mean, I think it's a smart thing to do when you're going from, playing on the NFL to get as much time on those pitches, across the pond to get yourself acclimated to it, especially if you're not one of these teams that are regularly playing over there. So, you take your advantages where you get them. It's just like how, we were talking a few weeks ago how, the Eagles were preparing to deal with the heat when we went down to Tampa. They made sure they went down there. A lot of the guys were doing you do whatever to make sure you're able to plan what type of environment you're going to be in. So, props to them.
Mel?
You have to get practice in whenever you can. I mean, wasn't it Russell Wilson said he would practice on the plane or something like that? He did whatever he had to do, exercises or whatever he needed to do on the plane. So you just got to get it in wherever you can. And that grass is probably similar to the type of grass that they have over there. I know the grass is a little bit different as far as what we use for football and what they use over there for soccer or what they call football over there. So, I mean, you just got, you got to get your work in. You get your work in. Get on your feet, get off your feet, get your work in, and just keep it moving.
Our final topic of the night, and once we get done with everybody can give their let everybody know they get a hold of them. This is going to be a rapid fire one too, and we'll continue the series next week. But places James Franklin could coach, I'll list some possibilities that have been listed: Auburn, FSU, Virginia Tech, Florida, UCLA, Ohio, Oklahoma State, Arkansas, Wisconsin. Jeremy, just pick one, two, or something that I haven't listed.
I'm going none of the above. I'm saying the couch or the Bermuda Chase Lounger because he needs to retire. He's awful.
Okay, no problem. Fair enough. Candy?
I could see Florida hiring him.
Okay, what about you, Marvin?
Did you say UAB? Did I hear that?
No, I didn't. But if you want to say it, I'm not stopping you.
I would say the smallest school, the smallest school that you mentioned is what I would say. I don't think any major program makes him the face anymore.
That's a good observation. I like it. Tommy?
Like I said earlier, Stanford would be a good fit for him. He would have consistent winners, and if he doesn't win a national title, he's not going to get fired.
Okay, I like that one too, Tommy. Stephen?
I'm with Jeremy. Get him out of here. I could not stand that guy when he was in Penn State. after the Eagles won the Super Bowl, he's taking all this credit. Before we signed him, he was sitting there crying that we were tampering with Saquon Barkley. The guy is just an awful person, an awful coach, and he needs to go away.
Okay, well, there you go. I like it. I got a couple of people that Jeremy and Steven meeting for the first time on the show. Tell you, I know you had a lot in common. You guys are doing a good job for your first act together. It definitely won't be your last, for sure. I guarantee that, since I am the executive producer of this whole operation. I guarantee you guys will be on again. Your next target will be the Professor and the People, by the way, Jeremy, so you better free up the spot on Monday night. Okay, Mel.
Out of the jobs that are available right now, it'd be Virginia Tech, Oklahoma State, or Stanford that I would look at. And the reason being is I don't want to go to the SEC. I don't want to go to Florida and go to the SEC because, look, they got 10 teams right now in the top 25. So I want to take the easiest path to a national championship. So that's going to be the Big 12 or the ACC. That that's or and those programs fit in that. So he can, look at Dabo. Look what he was able to do, how he dominated the ACC for a number of years. Right. He could get in there and dominate. I mean, the reason why they have the expectations at Penn State that they have right now is because of what he's done over the past 12 years. Now, that program, it wasn't dead, but, I mean, he had to resuscitate it. I mean, he had to bring it back. I mean, it was bad when he took over that program. And so they have those types of expectations there now because of the success that he's had there. So we know he knows how to build a program. I think he's a great coach. I mean, what he did at Vandy, that's why he got the job at Penn State, because he was able to turn Vanderbilt around and win games at Vanderbilt. So I'd love to see him take one of those jobs in the ACC or the Big 12 to take the easiest path to the dance and then have an opportunity to play for a national championship.
Yeah, to be objective about the whole thing, I think Virginia Tech would be a good possibility, and Oklahoma State. He has to stay out of the SEC for sure, but Oklahoma State makes a lot of sense. I'll go with that. So with that said, doing great, everybody. So with that said, we're gonna let everybody. We'll go to a station break with Candy, and then we'll let everybody know how they can get a hold of it. I've called everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great stuff. I've moved it along, got everything in. That's what my objective is. I have a couple pupils that have been mentors to me when it comes to this technology business on here, but Jeremy and Steven showed me a lot of this stuff that I wouldn't even be caught dead thinking of anyways, and Candy's been phenomenal. And you analysts out there will talk about football. It's phenomenal, too. That said, Candy, go to a station break. Everybody can go ahead. Let everybody know that get a hold of himself. Great job in the chat room. Great job with the panel. Proud of every one of you tonight for making the show the successful show that it is. You've all contributed to your own way through the years. Go ahead, Candy.
South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published the book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. Talks about his 40-plus years in the industry and how it has changed. Lots of great stories in there. Go get the book. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. There's also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there is a plethora of great content, so go check it out. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get podcasts. If you want to advertise or sponsor a show, call Scott 954-304-4941. If you want to be a guest or have topic ideas, you can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. And if you see that red subscribe button in that lower right-hand corner, click it, like us, share us, and then turn your notifications on and blast it out to all your friends and family. We want more watchtowers, and we get good programming, so you want to watch it. Get notified when we go live.
Great stuff. All right, Mel, let everybody know they get a hold of you.
Find me on all the social media at Melfar Jr. Follow what we have going on for the youth here in Georgia and also in Michigan at melfarsuperstar.org.
Steven, I know you'll have a lot going on pretty soon. You'll have a lot going on pretty soon, but go ahead, Steven. So. Yeah, I'm sure you will. I have no doubt about it. I have a real good thing. You'll have a lot going on, so let everybody know. Listen to you for the first time what you do with your group here with Ben and Marvin. So hearing you for the first time. Steven?
Hey, just the same old as it always is. Just, if you're on X, my handle's right underneath my name there. Steve Sports Talk 1. Same thing with with TikTok. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Just type my name in, it should pop right up. Other than that, dude, just keep showing us some love here on all the programming on South Florida Tribune.
Great stuff. You've helped us grow it a lot. Jeremy's done a good job. Tommy, Marvin, and Mel, you guys are loyal too. I love every one of you guys. Tommy, go ahead. Tommy and Marvin will join me tomorrow night at Sports Exchange. Tommy will give us a little bit on the Shanahan report tomorrow night. Go ahead, Tommy. Give it to me brief, Marvin, and then Jeremy will wrap it up.
Twitter, Shanny4055, and go to my website, the best site anywhere for the true stories of college football integration, TomShanahan.report.
Beautiful, Tommy. Looking forward to having you on tomorrow night. We have a great show lined up. Marvin, go for it, my brother.
Yeah, you could find me with the South Florida Tribune Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, and Wednesday evenings. You can catch me on Locked On USC on Mondays and Fridays. You can catch me with USCJ once a week, and you can catch me at Marvin on the Mic on TikTok, Twitter, and Marvin Powder Third on Facebook.
So as I reiterated, Tommy and Marvin will join Candy and I on the Sports Exchange tomorrow night. I hope you can join us at around 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Jeremy, wrap it up. Let everybody know to get a hold of you. You have a lot going on, and now you have about a minute and a half to say it.
All right, you can find me right here on the South Florida Tribune and also on the SouthFloridaTribune.com. Occasionally here on Inside the Pigskin and every Thursday on Fire Up. And then whenever else Scott wants to use me as a guest. You can, and on the SouthFloridaTribune.com is where you'll find my writings about the Detroit Lions, occasionally about baseball, and occasionally about other great matchups that I've seen and talk about how they ended. You can also find me on my channel with Sneak Buddy with the Motor City Lions and also on the Huddle Sports Network.
Great job, Jeremy. Great job, Candy. Great job, Marvin. Great job, Tommy. Steven, great job, my friend. And last but not least, the guy I've known longer than any of you is Mel Farr Jr. He was with me with Peter Ween, and I dragged him over here. But I'm proud of everybody on this group. And last night, I want to also mention a special shout-out to Tyrese Allen Davis, Stuart Hack, Rob Marasta, Candy and I, and Stuart. Hack, what a show we had last night. Talk about Don Mattingly going out there and finally getting to the World Series. But the big star of this whole thing was this young pup that I have with cerebral palsy. His name is Tyrese, I think, Allen Davis. If you haven't seen it, it's on the YouTube channel. These guys are phenomenal. And I looked up bringing all sorts of young talent. And we have a good one on Fire Up in JJ Metz. I'm going to introduce Jillian Schumacher on Thursday. And, of course, we brought in this other guy yesterday. So we're looking for young talent to keep this thing going. And I'm thankfully that we can bring in the young talent with all the veterans to make it a really complete network. So on behalf of Smoke and Jeremy Bulrick, Candy Evelyn, Marvin Paul, Tom Shanahan, Stephen Reichel, and Mel Farr Jr., my name is Scott Morgan. I thank you for joining us on this edition of Inside the Pigskin. We will see you tomorrow night when we do, what did I say? You're nodding, Candy.
No, go ahead. Keep going. I was laughing at Marvin because he was pointing to his hat.
Oh, okay. I knew something to throw me off. Inside the Pigskin. All right, whatever. Well, anyway, Marvin, look at that hat. He's going to stick it to Mel. That's a given. And Tommy's going to stick to anybody with a Michigan. So it's all fun. And
Jeremy,
Urban Meyer. Yeah, I'm telling you. And you know what? I agree with all you guys. I don't care what Urban Meyer says.
In the Big Ten.
I don't care what Urban Meyer says, but he's certainly worth a mention tonight anyway. So it is what it is. So maybe he can fix Florida. Who knows? Nobody else can. So another name out there, but that's it for all of us. To all of you, thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow night. We have our first show will be No Limits with Will Person, Jennifer Horsful, myself, and Candy, and then we'll follow it up with the Sports Exchange as a lead-in to the main event. All right, good night, everybody, and thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate the work done by